Hey guys, Drifter here. I'm just playing a little bit of Domination on Dome using the USAS, but I'm not playing alone. I'm playing with J-Hub, Booman, and MLC Stealth. They all run excellent channels, and their channels are down there in the description. Their gameplay on this map was probably better than mine, but this was one of the more fun games I played today. This is the rush I like to do. I like to put Marathon on my USAS to get that extra run speed. Throw, stick a grenade, mop up the rest, and if there's anybody that's too far away, I can always just break out the MP9 and shoot them down at a distance, because I always run damage on my USAS instead of range because I'm trying to get up to specialist and get damage and range. But that is the extent of the discussion about the gameplay in this video. We're now swapping over to a completely different thought process, and we're going to be talking about knowing yourself, why you want to know yourself, and how this is going to make you happier. It sounds very trite. I'm not a motivational speaker, but I'm going to try to relate this to you in a very personal manner because I believe it will improve your life if you stop to sit there and think about why it is you want the things you want. As a human being, one of the things you're going to do best is have desires. You want this thing, you want that person, you want this woman, you want this man, you want to be perceived as this, you want to know this, you want to have that talent, you want. That's what a human being is. They're just a big bundle of wants. But why do you want these things, and can you want what you want? That was something I kind of borrowed from an obviously Jesus commentary. One of the things that is almost impossible, if not absolutely impossible, depending on your philosophy to do, is to change the things that you want. To use a girl as an example, I can't all of a sudden decide that I just like ass better than boobs. I'm more of a boob man. Or I can't all of a sudden decide that I like one girl better than another based on any sort of objective reason. It's just kind of programmed into me and that's what I want. Or why do you like strawberry ice cream better than chocolate? You can't just flop that over and be like, I change the things I desire. It doesn't work that way. You still desire the old things, but why do you desire these things? And I'm going to use the example that I understand best because I was in a clothing store yesterday shopping with my wife. I didn't really need any clothes, but she loved them and she was looking for stuff. It was Old Navy, as a matter of fact, and the clothes were set up on display, and I was looking at how they had the display set up, and I realized that the way the display was set up kind of gravitated around one individual. Like there would be a bunch of really nice clothes around one very well-dressed mannequin, and it almost looked like all the items were looking at the mannequin. And then it occurred to me that Old Navy never actually sold clothes. Their clothes were fairly low quality. I'm not saying that they were bad or they were dumpy, but they weren't like the best clothes in the world, and they weren't going to last you a million years, and they weren't handcrafted to fit your body or anything like that. But what they did do is they looked pretty good, and the way they were marketed is to tell them, hey, if you buy these clothes, people will like you. You'll look more attractive, you'll look more fit, you'll be the popular person in the group. Everybody wants to be the popular person, right? And they were never ever intending on selling the clothes, but rather selling the idea of cool, or selling the idea behind the clothes. This is the same if you apply it to personal fitness. A lot of people exercise. I'm trying to get back into this myself, but it's kind of hard. I'm having some persistence problems. I want to be lazy and quit on other days, but you have to ask yourself, why do you want to exercise? For those of you that do exercise, is it because you want to be better at a sport? And then why do you want to be better at the sport? Do you like the feeling of being better at the sport? Do you like the attention you get from it? Do you like some sort of money from it? Is it a pride thing? But we're going to go back to the exercise. Generally, for those of us that aren't in sports, it's either to look good or to be perceived as healthy. I guess those are the same, my bad. To be perceived as healthy or to actually be fit. Some of us are larger than others or have some sort of problem. You want to be more mobile, you want to be more fit, you want to be active, you want to be able to do things. I want to exercise so that I can go hiking, so that I can climb, so that I can surf or whatever. That's one way. Or it could be because you want to look better. You want people to think that you're healthier, that you're more fit, or these sort of things. And while this isn't like a super complicated or in-depth sort of analysis, if you apply this, it's going to help you understand your decision-making process better. I'm sitting around here thinking, for example, a recent purchase of mine was the Silent Hill HD collection. This has both Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3, and I thought to myself, man, I love these games. I'm going to play these games all the time. This is going to be the most fun. This is going to be the best thing I've ever bought. And at the end of the day, I found myself not enjoying it. What I didn't realize is that I wasn't necessarily buying the games because I like them. I was buying the idea of the games based on nostalgia. I was buying the idea of being able to own something from my past that I particularly adored, and games have evolved significantly since these like 2001, 2003 classics, and they're just not that fun to play anymore. They don't live up to modern games. I can't do it. I can't make myself do it. It's not all that enjoyable. I could watch the cutscenes because I like the cutscenes. It brings back good memories, but it has nothing to do with actually playing the game, so I ended up wasting some money on that one. This also applies to things that you don't want. It's very important to know what you don't like and why you don't like it so that you can avoid these segments in your life. Nobody Nobody wants to be miserable. Nobody wants to sit around and do things they don't like. And it also gives you some sort of introspective into yourself when you understand what you don't like. The example I'm going to use here is I was having dinner with my wife the other day, and she had a fresh pear. She skinned the pear, sliced it, put it in a bowl, and that was dessert. She's Chinese, so her kind of desserts are all fruit. Mine are normally chocolate, but that's beside the point. It was a pear. I didn't want to eat the pear. I looked at the pear, and my stomach just turned, and I was like, oh God, I don't really want to touch that thing at all. And she looked at me like I was the biggest fucking idiot on the planet, and in a lot of ways I was. And she asked me, why don't you want to eat pears? And I had never even thought to think of these thoughts, but like I never even realized that I would ever have to one day answer the question, why do you not want to eat a sliced pear? What's so bad about it? She asked me, does it taste bad? And I'm like, no, it doesn't really taste bad. Is it too slimy? Is it the texture? And I'm like, no, I don't really have texture problems. Like, there's no kind of food with texture that messes me up. I was like, okay, well, it doesn't taste bad. You're not full, and there's no texture problem. Why don't you want to eat the pear? And I sat there, and I thought about it. And I'm like, you know, pears kind of make me sick. And she says, okay, well, why do pears make you sick? And I realized the reason that pears make me sick, the reason I don't want to eat them, or several other varieties of fruit, is because my grandparents used to eat them so much. This is going to make me sound kind of like a bad person, but I didn't necessarily get along with my grandparents very well growing up. They raised me for a while. I especially didn't get along with my grandfather. A lot of headbutting. We're going to talk about him a bit more later. But they used to eat canned fruit, like the canned pears and the canned peaches. They were completely bathed in syrup, and I never really liked them like that, and they were always like freezing ass cold, and I just thought they were really disgusting, slimy things. And I didn't like them then just because I didn't get along with my grandparents, and I didn't want to be anything like them, so I didn't want to eat or like the foods that they liked. And it kind of follows from there. But I was, you know, living in their house, and they were from the Depression era where food is rare, so I had to eat everything regardless. And I tried to get out of it. It's like, no, I don't like this, I don't want to eat this. And I'm like, no, you have to eat it. And just to kind of taunt me, they would sit there and eat it and like, it's so good, watch me eat it, watch me stick it in my mouth. And then they'd drink the juice, and the juice is something I just hated the taste of. And I'd watch them drink the juice and go and just slurp the juice, and it used to make me just so sick and so fucking revolted and angry at the same time that every time I sit down now to eat a pear or any sort or a couple varieties of sliced fruit, I just don't like that. All those memories come back, and like these people that I didn't like and didn't get along with love this, and this is their food, and when I eat it I'm associating it with them, and it blah. But understanding this now, I can come back and look at a pear, and I'm instantly going to get that gut reaction that this is disgusting, and then I'm going to think to myself, I actually like pear taste. I eat pear cake, I eat pear cobbler and peaches and all this kind of stuff. Why the hell am I being such a stick in the mud about this particular fruit? Now, oh, it's because my grandparents, and you know, I'm smarter than this. I can think my way around this, and I have been practicing and working my way up to eating more types of fruit and vegetables. This also has to do with things that you're afraid of. One of the things that I'm particularly afraid of is choking. The example again, me and my wife at the dinner table, and I swallow something small, like maybe a pecan or an M&M or something just really, really small, gets stuck in my throat, and I do this just far too often. The second I think that I'm going to choke, I instantly go, and just like spit it all up. She hates this. This makes her so mad because it's absolutely, completely disgusting and gross, and it scares her, and she thinks I'm choking. And the reason that I do this is I am really genuinely afraid of choking, and you're going to ask me, well, why are you so afraid of choking? And the obvious answer is going to be, oh, you've choked in the past. And I have choked in the past. When I was a really little kid, about 4 or 5 years old, I had this brilliant idea to take the there was this Fruit Stripes zebra gum. I can't remember. It was like this zebra with all these fruity gums. And I also had some gummy worms, and I had, what were those things? Starburst. I molded them together in this big ball and just started chewing on it. And for some reason, I had the brilliant idea to swallow it. And this was at the same time I was sitting in a car by myself. It was like a 91 Buick or something at somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Arkansas, doing a custody drop-off between my mom and dad, and they're outside arguing. And I start choking on this amalgamation of fruit and nastiness that I've just crammed in my mouth, that I should have in no way crammed in my mouth, but did anyway. And they're too busy arguing with each other to notice that I was choking to help. And even being a very little kid, I knew that this was bad. And I remember getting lightheaded, and in my desperation, I stuck my hands all the way down my throat and managed to pull this big ball out. And that scared me. That was really scary, because even as a kid, I watched a lot of horror movies. I knew what choking was. I knew that I was going to die soon. And that's not the only experience I had with choking. I had another one at my grandparents' house again. They cooked me steaks. My grandfather was a big steak guy because he was a steak salesman. Way back in the day, worked at Swift & Company, doing sales and then management and this sort of stuff. And one of the things that he did when he retired is he sat around the house and ate a hell of a lot of steak. And I mean, we had steak all the time. So it was really weird for me going to college and other places. Like, you don't eat steak every day? That's kind of strange. Why don't you eat steak every day? That's just odd. Blah, blah, blah. We're actually going to swap over to some DayZ gameplay commentary here, because this commentary's gone on way longer than expected, and I just don't know what else to fill the space with. And he had this thing about steak. You need to cut it a certain way. You need to cut it across the grain, this sauce, that. And it was really annoying, because he was sitting there telling me that if you cut a steak a certain way, it's going to taste better. And that was the most asinine thing in the world, because even, you know, as a teenager, I know that cutting a piece of meat isn't going to change its flavor. And he's going to tell me, you know, oh, he said this, if you cut it the wrong way, you're going to choke on it. And I opened my mouth to tell him that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and in doing so, I sucked in air and I started choking on my steak. And it was pretty bad. It was a pretty big piece of meat, and it was down there in my mouth, and I couldn't do anything about it. And I started pounding on the table with my hands like I need help, because I couldn't speak. And my grandmother gets concerned as she gets up to go get me, and my grandfather grabs her shoulder and sits her back down on the table, and he's like, "No, you wait and you just watch." And he looks at me, and I'm looking at him the whole time I'm choking. He's like, "This is what you get. You should have listened to me. I'm going to let you choke just so that you know what it's like to choke, and you won't ever be this stupid and do it again." And just sitting there the whole time, he's like, "Choke. You just choke. You just know how it feels. You remember how it feels. I don't want you to ever forget this. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to wait till you just about pass out before I bother helping you." And this, I mean, it was really angry, hateful kind of stuff. I can't even remember what all was going on. And I'm tripping balls here, choking. My grandmother wants to help. He's got her sat down, bitching at me the whole time. And it was just like going back to when I was a kid. I didn't know what to do, and I'm getting lightheaded, and I have to stick my hand all the way down my throat and squeeze my neck as hard as I can, just to force that air out. And between that and my hand, I managed to get the piece of meat out of my mouth, and the first thing he said is, "Oh, good, I'm glad you did that." And he said some shit like, "Yeah, I was about to get up and help you, but I just wanted to watch you choke a little bit first, so you know how it would feel." And I can't remember if I finished the meal or if I just left and walked home, but that was an extremely unpleasant experience again with a fellow that I didn't like and choking. So now I'm extremely afraid of choking. So when I eat dinner with my wife, I hack and I spit every time I think I'm choking, and it's a really bad habit. But knowing the reason behind this, I have been able to cut this back a little bit recently. It's still like an instant reflex, and it's kind of hard to put away and stop altogether, but I'm working my way down to swallowing food normally in normal portions. Well, my portions are normal, but not having that fear of choking with every single bite, wondering if I'm going to choke to death here at the table. So using the stuff that I've just talked about, you understand what you want and why you want it, so you know what actions you can choose to make your life better. You know that maybe there's deeper meanings behind the things that you want or that you want to try to do, and you also need to understand why you don't like things, and maybe some of the reasons that you don't like things are silly, and that you can think your way around it and improve your life in some way. Maybe there's something you're missing out on because you think you don't like something, but the reason behind it is not really valid. Lastly, you want to make yourself a stronger person by by not being afraid of some things, and you need to understand why you're afraid of some things in order to get over that fear and conquer it, so to speak. And that's all I've got to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed the commentary. I hope you enjoyed the Modern Warfare 3. I hope you enjoyed the DayZ and everything else that was going on here. Drifter out.